If you charge your earbuds every night, you're probably losing a year of their life to one thing nobody checks. An earbud battery lasts about 500 charges, then it is done for good. Here's the part that stings. A $150 to $250 pair of earbuds turns disposable in about 24 months. And the battery is glued in. No one can swap it, so when the cell dies, the whole device goes to the landfill. This isn't a defect. By the end, you'll know exactly why it happens and what you can do to slow it down. So what's actually inside? Let's open the box. Under the plastic sits a lithium-ion cell, smaller than a shirt button, holding just 40 to 60 milliamp hours of energy. That's tiny. Your phone battery holds 50 times more. 3 parts do all the work. On one side, a layer of lithium metal oxide, call it the cathode. On the other, a layer of graphite, the same stuff in a pencil, that's the anode. And between them, a liquid called the electrolyte that lets charged particles swim across. Here's the whole trick in one picture. When you charge the bud, lithium ions, charged lithium particles, physically slide out of the cathode, cross the liquid, and tuck themselves into the graphite. Picture tiny marbles rolling into the gaps of a sponge. When you press play and the music starts, those ions slide back the other way, and that flow of charge is your power. Charge, they move left. Play, they move right. That back and forth is the entire battery. Nothing burns, nothing explodes, nothing gets used up. In a perfect world, those ions would shuttle forever and the battery would never fade. But it does fade. In 2 years, it's noticeably weaker. So if the ions just move back and forth, what's wearing out? Something is quietly getting lost on every single trip. That covers the what, now the why it wears out. First, clear up what a charge really is. A charge cycle isn't one plug-in. It's one full battery's worth of energy, start to finish. Top up from 50% twice, and you've used one cycle, not two. Now here's the loss. Every time those ions cross into the graphite, a few of them react with the liquid and get stuck, permanently. They build a microscopic crust on the anode, and that crust has a name, the SEI layer. Think of it as rust that grows a hair thicker every cycle. Once an ion is trapped in that crust, it never shuttles again. It's gone. So each cycle, your cell holds a sliver less. This is why the fade is gradual, not sudden. It's a slow leak, not a burst pipe. After about 500 cycles, the cell holds roughly 80% of what it did new. Now 80% sounds fine. On a phone, you'd barely notice. But remember how small this cell is. It only held 40 to 60 milliamp hours to begin with. Losing 20% of almost nothing leaves you with almost nothing. On a tiny bud, that missing 20% is the exact difference between finishing your commute and dying halfway through a song. Same rust, same physics as a big battery, but on this cell, there's no cushion to hide it. So why does an earbud burn through those 500 cycles so much faster than the phone in your pocket? Here's where earbuds get punished. Same chemistry as your phone, but 3 things gang up on them. 1, size. The cell is so small it can't store much, so it runs a near full cycle almost every single day. Your phone might take 2 days to drain 1 cycle, a bud does it daily. More cycles per year means it hits that 500 mark years sooner. 2, heat. That rust reaction speeds up when things get warm, and where does a bud live? Jammed in your warm ear, then dropped into a closed case. Worse, the case keeps trickling in power to keep the bud full, and that charging itself gives off heat. So the bud bakes gently hour after hour. Heat is the accelerant pouring on the fire. 3, and this one surprises people, sitting at 100% is bad for it. A lithium cell is most stressed when it's completely full. The packed-in ions strain the material. And your case does exactly that. The moment a bud drops in, it charges it back to full and pins it there. So the case that feels like it's protecting your buds is quietly holding them in the single most damaging state. All day, every day. Small cell, constant heat, permanent full charge. Each one alone is manageable. Stack all 3, and the aging that takes a phone 5 years hits an earbud in 2. Now watch all 4 forces click together. Start with a hard ceiling of 500 cycles. Run 1 cycle a day because the cell is so small. Add the heat of your ear and the case speeding up the rust. Pin it at a stressful 100% around the clock. Do that math, and by year 2, the cell is limping along on a fraction of what it held new. And here's why the death feels so sudden. The fade was invisible the whole time. The bud kept finishing your sessions, so nothing seemed wrong. Right up until the shrinking capacity can't quite make it to the end of one podcast. One day it lasts, the next it doesn't. The cliff was always there, you just couldn't see the edge. But you can push that edge back. Keep the buds in case out of hot sun and hot cars. Don't leave them charging every hour of every day. Pull them off the charger once they're full. And if you're stashing them away for a while, store them near half charge, the low stress state, not stuffed full in a hot drawer. None of it stops the clock. All of it slows the clock. So the one-line truth, it's not a defect and it's not planned sabotage. It's the physics of a button-sized cell forced to run a full cycle every single day. In the heat, held at full. Which raises the obvious next question. If the battery is the part that dies, why do companies glue it in so you can't ever replace it? That's a different kind of engineering, and we'll open that box next.